For more on the murder of opposition leader Boris Nemtsov in Moscow, we are now joined by Anton Fedyashin. He's an executive director of American University's Initiative for Russian Culture and an expert in Russian and Soviet history and current post-Soviet affairs. You had the chance to meet him.
Yes, I met him when I was studying in Boston. He's tall, handsome, struck me as very intelligent, very charismatic, really a very warm human being. Not a terribly successful politician, however, in Russia.
Your reaction when you heard the news?
Shock, I think, as the reaction of most Russians has been, not only because Nemtsov was a fairly prominent face in Russia, but also because the murder took place late in the evening, but right in the center of town, just a few minutes walking time from the Kremlin, which is very suspicious.
Well, suspicious in what way?
Suspicious in that it's, first of all, highly unlikely that the Russian government had anything to do with such prominent a murder right on the doorstep of the seat of government. If we're going to be hearing a lot of this in the next few days, I predict with 100% certainty. And, you know, if Vladimir Putin or the Kremlin wanted to get rid of someone or neutralize them, they would have found a much more innocuous and intelligent way to do so. There's another interesting aspect to this, which is that Boris Nemtsov and the whole liberal movement in Russia today presents absolutely no threat to the Kremlin whatsoever. Nemtsov is more or less a has-been politician, although a very interesting and intelligent man. To get rid of him from the Kremlin's point of view makes absolutely no sense. So the question is, who is behind this? And that's something that we'll be waiting to find out over the next few weeks or months.
And any thoughts in that regard? And it's interesting, and we should probably note that recently, in a recent interview, he had said he was afraid he was going to get killed and it was going to be Putin behind it.
Right.
So, as you say, a lot of people looking in that direction. But what are your thoughts in terms of who might have carried out this attack? He did make enemies along the way. I mean, he's called out corruption. He's been rather outspoken on a number of issues.
Exactly, and he's made a lot of enemies both in the business world in Russia, although he claims he doesn't have any, and also he's been a very controversial figure within the liberal movement in Russia, which has consistently failed to articulate any kind of constructive program except for getting rid of Putin, but that's not much of a political program, and has been besieged by an enormous amount of infighting, although I doubt that any of his political colleagues would have pulled something like this off. I hesitate to really even begin to wonder who's behind this, but I seriously doubt that it's the Russian authorities, or at least anyone in power, because this makes so little sense to do this right now and to get rid of Nemtsov, who was so unimportant in Russian politics these days.
There were a couple of prominent journalists, though, in the past who've been gunned down in much the same fashion. What are we to deduce from this? I mean, is it... and in those cases, if I'm not mistaken, I think one of them still unresolved.
Yes.
Is it likely that there'll be a quick investigation?
Well, so far, again,
justice,
Mike, this is almost impossible to answer. What we do know so far for sure is that Vladimir Putin has ordered the Justice Department, the Department of Interior, and the FSB to pay special attention to this case, and for the heads of all three ministries to control the process personally. So that means that he is taking a very close view of how this is going to proceed. How transparent it will be is up to, well, anyone's guess. I hope it does, but the Russian government has a long way to go towards controlling crime and also to bringing investigations to their end.
Opposition. You said that there's a lot of infighting. What is this? Does this create a vacuum at all in terms of the opposition movement?
Absolutely not. The opposition in Russia is a vacuum itself. So the fact that Nemtsov isn't there yet really doesn't affect much at all. They've got a major march coming up on Sunday, this coming Sunday, which everyone will be watching. I doubt that many people were going to show up. There may be a bigger turnout after this murder on Sunday, because so many people have been scandalized by this brutal killing right in the center of Moscow. But again, as far as the Russian opposition movement, they've got a long way to go to actually articulate a message and appeal to the Russian people.
Anton, always a delight to have you in, and looking forward to your analysis along the way. Thank you again for coming.